It changed the interface.
I know that was like last week, and it was like, oh, there's an additional step. You are live on Facebook right now.
Awesome. Hi, you guys. Welcome. Welcome to the Quantum Alignment Show. And I apologize if you were waiting for us a little bit. True to the advances in technology, once again, the video interface platform changed, which it does spontaneously, apparently, every 2 or 3 weeks. So we're excited to be here. We're going to be talking about Uranus, or Uranus, or if you were in Texas, I won't say how you say it in Texas, in Taurus, and big shifts in the outer planets and how those are going to be impacting us over the next, not quite a decade, but almost the next decade. So I'm so excited to be joined today by astrologer extraordinaire Rebecca Hansen, the abundance astrologer. She is going to be bringing in the astrology part and talking about pure astrology and the nature of just sort of giving you the really strong concrete foundation of understanding. I'm going to bring in human design a little bit later, and we're going to talk about how this influences the human design chart and the themes that we see in human design, in particular in the context of the evolution of humanity and what this powerful, powerful change means for us in the context of how we are moving towards what I believe is an era of sustainable peace and sustainable resources. I'm going to start first with you, Rebecca. I know you and I have been geeking out all week over this, so I'm very excited to hear what you have to say. We decided we would go into this cold so that I don't know what Rebecca's going to say. She doesn't know what I'm going to say. We'll see if we sync up. So
yeah, it's really been exciting. I mean, I've known as an astrologer, I mean, everybody that's understanding astrology has been really looking forward to this Uranus moving into Taurus situation. There's some really big players that are moving in and joining up with that energy. And in astrology, it brings in the various aspects that you don't see in human design. And in human design, there are energies that complement the astrology, and they really, really marry well together. I have some slides to kind of I know there's probably some people on Facebook that may not have a big handle on the geek speak that I don't want to lose anybody in not understanding this, because my feeling is that both you and I, Karen, are so excited about this that we can feed off of each other's energy, and we're in outer space, and I don't want to do that to people. So if you don't mind, I'd like to do an introductory slide, and I don't have to show them all at once. I'm totally open to
go for it. Go for it. Hit the share screen button, and you do your slides, and then when you're done, I'll do mine. So
okay. Okay, let me share my screen and minimize some of this stuff here that I've got going on. So you see a blank screen, and now you have the human design mandala. And the body graph of the human design mandala is in the center circle. When you step out to the next circle, you've got the planetary placements, the circle around that, which is, some of them are like a mauve color, some of them a rust or peach or whatever. That's the astrological signs that those planets are in. Then you go out one step further and you see all the numbers, 64 numbers surrounding the astrology signs. That's the gates. And then one more step out further, you have the I Ching, the Chinese I Ching hexagrams. So when you lay the astrology, if I can get my, oh, come on. Okay, this is not right. Hold on just a minute. Let's go back to this way, because that was supposed to all click into place. Let's see if we'll do it one more time. There we go. You have the astrology wheel in the middle that's covering up the body graph. In the slides following this, I'm going to show the body graph and the astrology wheel side by side. But what I wanted to explain to you is that from time to time, I might be referring to the houses, and I'm not going to be looking at the energy of the specific houses. It's more of a place to say, we're looking at the 9th house and you'll see a planet in that house or whatever. So it's just kind of a reference point. And the circle that just appeared on the screen now separates the gates and the astrology signs. So you can see there are 5.5 gates in every sign. So human design takes and refines those energies down. It's absolutely beautiful the way this all works together. What I wanted to make note of is that the glyphs that you see in the bottom left-hand corner both represent Uranus. The top glyph, the circle with the arrow pointing up, is used mostly in human design. The bottom glyph is what I'm used to seeing in astrology. Both of them represent the same planet. And in this particular chart, you can see the astrology has the bottom glyph and the human design has the top glyph. One thing we're going to be talking a lot about today are new moons. This particular Uranus moving into Taurus on its own is a big event. It just happens to have happened on a new moon, and we're going to be discussing that. The glyphs, of course, for the sun is the circle with a dot in it, and the moon is that crescent-shaped moon over on the right. So let's move on. This is what I sent Karen this week that she got just totally geeked out on. I know it because she was late to one of our classes because she was looking at the slide. Not really, like a minute or two. But what I want to note here is that in the astrology wheel, you see Uranus is circled in a blue capsule at 29 degrees Aries. A big player for this particular transit is that the same day that Uranus moves into Taurus, Mars, which is the other blue capsule, moves into Aquarius, and they are square. They are exactly square, and for them to move into and change signs on the same day is huge. The energies that Mars brings in, Mars is a trailblazer. Mars has a fiery attitude that he brings with him, very much of a uplifter for the underdog, can bring in some anger, and but also there is, whatever Mars touches, it brings energy and action to it. So you can see here in the blue capsules on the human design chart, and Karen, you're welcome to jump in anytime. The blue capsules.
I'm listening. I'm about to.
Good. The blue capsules show that Mars is in gate 60 and Uranus is in gate 3. In the bottom of the body graph, you see another blue kind of square. That's where that is located. So, Karen, you want to explain?
Rebecca, before you go on, there was a question on what sign is Mars in?
Oh, Mars is moving from Capricorn into Uranus.
That's
and
an aside.
By the way,
it's moving from Capricorn into, you said Uranus, and
excuse me, into Aquarius. I get dyslexic when I talk signs, and that's a really good question, because what I want you guys to understand is that Uranus is currently in Aries, which is ruled by Mars. Mars is moving into Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus. So you've got kind of a double energy going on there, which is what makes these two planets specifically really important to this whole transit. They are doing this dance back and forth, and so Uranus, the energy of Uranus is like expect the unexpected sort of attitude. It will jump in with a lightning bolt and just totally surprise you. Mars energizes that. So
Yeah.
it just makes it so much bigger. Now, those two planets in human design define a channel. And Karen, you want to?
Well, I think it's big, and I will, when I show you the human design piece and really look at the whole energy of Taurus in human design, what we're going to see is that, well, there's two things I want to bring up. First of all, this is what we call mutative energy in the chart, meaning it's energy that brings transformation and change. And the energy of mutation that happens at the bottom in the blue capsule between the root center and the sacral is pressure. It's actually adrenaline pressure. And it's adrenaline pressure to a certain degree, do what I call jump and run, meaning you have to adjust and adapt quickly to whatever comes your way. And it has the potential to be a little tricky, because if you look at what else is transiting at this point, we've got the 19, which is on the top right of the brown square, which is sensitivity, but it's also about neediness and intimacy. We have joy down at the bottom on the left-hand side. Then we have the 27, which is going to continue to be prominent as a theme for us all throughout this first Uranian transit. And then the 14, which is all about money. And it sort of sets the tone for us to be conflicted about resources, scrambling to figure out resources, looking at how do we use our resources and make sure we have enough resources for everyone. How do we use our mastery and our insights, and how do we stay innovative and adaptive with the changes that are rolling? And I don't think this necessarily that could all smack us down in one day, but I certainly think it sets the tone for what we're going to be doing until November, when we have this retrograde cycle that brings us back to Uranus in Aries. The second thing that's really notable is that when you look at the top, you see they have the yellow diamond and the brown square. It's the G in the throat center. And that definition comes in this transit through the channel 1-8, which is called the channel of the creative role model. But it's really, again, it's, first of all, the hexagram 1 is a yang-yang hexagram. It's the most forward momentum seeking energy in the chart. So it's like it wants to do something, it wants to contribute, it wants to be who it is, right? And looking at, again, the fact that we've got pressure on the bottom and then really kind of pressure with this gate 1 transit on the top, and that pushing on the throat, and that pushing with this sort of this underlying current that says, I'm here for a reason, I have a mission, I have a purpose, I'm here for a reason, I have a purpose, I don't know what it is, what if I don't know what it is? There's a sense of really kind of being in a position where you almost are going to feel like you have to choose. Do I do who I am? Do I be who I am? Or do I compromise and do what's necessary for survival? And I think the real beauty in this entire journey that we're going to be going through, and part of this is sort of putting it into the bigger context of what's happening in the next 10 years astrologically, is that we are learning how to be who we are, recognizing that who we are is the contribution that we give to the world, and that if we're going to actually survive and cause this planet to grow and thrive, we cannot compromise who we are and still continue to stay sustainable. So we are learning how to become the full expression of ourselves as the contribution that we give to the world. We are learning how to create space for others to also be the full expression of who they are, so that we are building infrastructure around ideas such as acceptance of differences and tolerance of those places where perhaps we are seemingly different from each other, and moving into a place where we go, okay, you know what, there's this 0.00001% of our personality and who we are that's different. Let's look at the 99.99999% of the places where we have things in common, and let's begin to structure a world where we act from that place. And certainly I know when you start talking about the history of what happened the last time we were in a cycle like this, compassion was a big part at the end result, not the beginning, but the end result of what we grew into as a result of the last Uranian cycle with in Taurus.
So Karen, I'd like to add that this happens on May the 15th. The number 15 in numerology is the spiritual alchemist, which just gives me chills to think about.
It gives me chills too.
That reduces to 6, and 6 is about love and nurturing and taking care of everyone around you. And it just, I mean, this whole thing is giving us an opportunity, and I'm not sure we can even help but not respond to it. This is
I don't think we'll have a choice.
Yeah, I totally.
Yeah.
So we had a comment here on Zoom from Sharon. Truthfully, she's a bit worried about the volcano erupting fully next week. I mean, a full-on volcanic eruption is so Uranus, Mars, ready for a tsunami here on Oahu that day. That's just, and I know that Rebecca does follow.
You know, I have followed earth changes through earthquakes and volcanoes and looking at them with astrology for years now. And I agree that is definitely a real possibility. First of all, you have got Saturn in Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn, and Mars in Capricorn. Capricorn is an earth sign. So there are definitely earth changes with this. Knowing about them ahead of time is the biggest gift that you can really receive from that. Because when all you have to do is look at the news and know that there's something coming. But when you look at the astrological configurations as well, and I have actually run charts for that area, for the Big Island, and I don't like predicting things, but there's a very high likelihood, and it's really understandable right now that Pele is building some new land, and you go through stuff like this when that happens. It's definitely real, definitely real. I would like to mention that May the 15th is also a new moon, and that's the kind of pink colored lines and capsules that you've got. What's so spectacular about this alone is that it is opposite Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is known for gifting blessings. That's just the tip of the iceberg. That bountifulness can happen in many, many, many ways. When I see an opposition like this, I give it what astrologers call an orb or wiggle room of 8 degrees leading up to the exact and 8 degrees moving away from it. So Jupiter is definitely in alignment with this new moon that we've got. And this is all on the same day. I mean, this is huge. You know?
It is, yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you have other slides that you want to show?
I do. I want to talk about the retrograde that is happening with Uranus, because I ran a chart for each one of these days, and each one of these days have got a huge impact on us. And it's, I don't know, it's just amazing. I'm not going to gush about it too much because I want to move on, but, and these dates will be on the following slides. I just want people to know that May 15th, it goes into Taurus. By August 6th, it stations and stands kind of still and then goes retrograde. November 6th, it returns into Aries. January 6th, it goes direct and starts moving forward again. By March, it's going to be re-entering Taurus and then stay there for 6 years until July 7th when it goes into Gemini. So I wanted to explain, these are all the dates, and I wanted to explain how that path kind of works, just to give you kind of a overview. You can see where in the very middle, where it returns back into, travels back into Aries, and then by January 6th, it starts going forward again and then finally reaches Taurus again on March 6th. So this whole 10-month period is covered in this diagram.
Mm-hmm.
So when it stations retrograde on August the 6th, here you see Mars and Uranus doing this dance again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you've also got, in human design, you've also got gate channel 731, which is democratic leadership. You know, that's, I mean, Jupiter is in gate 1. You have Jupiter, again, being a big, huge central player. You've got the gate 27, which is very much about taking responsibility. And that's where Uranus is sitting at this time. By November the 6th, you've got, within 24 hours of Uranus returning back into Aries, which is shifting signs, which is a big energy on its own, you've got almost a new moon again. The moon travels through a sign in about a couple of days. So you can see how close the moon and the sun are. That is definitely a player. If you look underneath that red capsule, you've got Venus, which is at 27 degrees Libra, opposite Uranus at 29 degrees. Venus is about your own values. And if you look at Venus in human design, it is in the gate 50. So, Karen, you want to...
the gate of values.
Which is the gate of values, yeah. It also, Venus also rules things like money and, you know, your surroundings that you surround yourself with. Usually it's a very tactile sort of an energy. But what is really amazing to me here, when I looked at this, you have Uranus in the blue square in the astrology wheel is, and you have got the north and south nodes, which are the, they look like horseshoes, exactly at 29 degrees as well. So you're looking at a very karmic sort of energy, very much about what did we come here to do? What did we bring with us when we came in, and how is it that we move all this energy forward? It just, it's, I don't know. I was speechless when I put all these together. It's
So,
like it just, you want me to back up?
No, keep going. I want to get through this, and then I want to jump to the human design piece. And in between there, I want to talk about the history of what happened too, so we can kind of, because I think what's so profound is that these energies are setting the tone for celestial event. Well, anytime we see big movement, I think in the outer planets, it's setting global themes. It's not just personal. It becomes your personal as part of the whole. And when we look at the last time we experienced this cycle, we had a radical economic shift. We had Hitler, who was setting things up in the world for the world to kind of turn a blind eye, or to be a little bit bamboozled, I think, by what he was secretly planning to do. We had the Great Depression. We had rationing. We had, ultimately at the end, the emergence of Roosevelt's social agenda and the beginning of, as I said, a more compassionate way of really using the economy and government to make sure that everybody's okay. And, sorry, go ahead, Rebecca.
Well, I was going to add to that. That's when insulin was discovered. That's when the highway planning systems were authorized for the United States. That's when the FCC was created. And that's when X-rays, the full body X-ray machines came around. So, yeah.
Right. And I think we're going to see huge technological shifts, particularly in not just communications, but also just in the nature of how we do economy. I I have been telling my husband this for years, that when we look at where we are right now and we start planning for where we're going to be in 10 years as we age, we have to really rethink how we're going to do it, because I don't think that the way we've done money is going to be the same at the end of this cycle. I don't think the way in which the drivers, and this is the piece that I keep telling people, I don't think the drivers for what creates business and success in business are going to be the same anymore. We have come from a very ego-based, profit-driven, material perspective around the economy. And Elaine's pointing out that November day is election day. When we look at human design and we look at the evolution of the chart, and the chart is in the process of being in an evolution, part of what's changing is the circuitry or the hardwiring for business. And what gets added to the hardwiring for business is the channel 5027, which is this values piece. And the 27, Uranus actually goes through the 27th hexagram and this initial transit. And that 27 is all about love, care, compassion, nurturing, responsibility, and obligation. And I'll show you guys in just a second kind of how that plays out and why that's so unusual. But this whole idea of economic change and the idea of how radical and evolutionary this economic change is going to be, I am not predictive. I don't like doing predictions. I will say I just cannot imagine that our economy and what drives business is going to be the same at all. I think when we emerge from this cycle, what we do with business and how we conduct business and the purpose of business, I think is going to be completely different than how it is right now.
I totally agree. On this, when Uranus goes direct on January the 6th, once again, you have a new moon. And this moon is also bringing you in the energies of Saturn, which is restructuring, and Pluto, which is transformation. And I don't want to get caught up on this, but I mean, it's just like every time there's something that happens, it seems to affect a new moon in some way. March 6th, when it re-enters Taurus again, you have another new moon. This time it's conjunct Neptune. So, I mean, this is huge. I've been doing astrology for over 45 years. I've never come across anything like this. It's so inspirational. It's so revealing about how we are changing and the opportunities that we have. The whole world is going through all of this. And when Uranus finally does, it's going to be spending that following 6 years after that retrograde in Taurus, and then July 7th in 2025, it's going to be going into Gemini. And this was the chart that came up for when it changes signs again and goes into Gemini, and once again, the moon is involved. So here, what I was really taken back by was that you have a conjunction between Saturn and Neptune, and Saturn being restructuring and Neptune having the capability of bringing in that divine inspiration. It's
both of it, and healing energy on top of it. So
very much.
So is this your last slide?
Yeah, I've got more, but I can stop there. I think what I did was I ran one for another 84 years out, so it's not necessarily happening. I just couldn't stop.
We're getting our geek on. So I do want to, if you would, maybe Rebecca, if you put in the chat, and then Cindy can put it on the Facebook page, to at least write those dates down and kind of go ahead and mark your calendar like big dates, and again, get ready. And know that, again, all of these, the very first person who ever taught me astrology said, and he was this beautiful man from Kentucky, and he had a very thick accent, and he used to say to me, Karen, Uranus is like this. You're walking on the sidewalk, and you're eating an ice cream cone and you put your foot down and all of a sudden the sidewalk ain't there, and you look up and there's aliens strolling down the other side of the street and they're eating ice cream too, and that ain't no big thing because that's just Uranus, you know. So and so, you know, there's this quality of sort of the surreal in terms of the depth of the change, to the degree to which the quality of changing is kind of normal. And that, I think that's kind of what he meant by this whole idea of you're eating ice cream cone and the aliens are eating ice cream cone, you're all on the same planet, and it's not a thing, because it's like change is the norm. And I certainly would say, you know, we've had rumblings of this from before. I mean, I think we've been feeling this sort of inner buildup, and I think to a certain degree, I think it's given a lot of us even some anxiety in the last year or the last 2 years. I think, you know, starting with November and, you know, the shifts in the political scene, not just in America, but really kind of globally, that these shifts have sort of, it stirred in us this sort of awareness that, oh, things are about to change. We've been talking about the shift. We've been talking about, you know, the evolution of humanity, and feeling into it. And I think picking up on some of the anxiety around it. And I think what the transits clearly show is that we are for sure in a big cycle of change, and, you know, understanding, you know, the nature of how to work with that consciously is really vital. So I looked at all this and I decided, and rather than talking about the entire process of Uranus, I decided I was just going to talk about the first little sneak peek that we get, because just in that little piece, there's a really big part of information that I want to give our listeners, most importantly, because I think that this little window of opening that sort of sets the stage and sort of gives us like, okay, here's what's coming, get ready. And I think we really have to get ready. And part of that getting ready is recognizing, as you just said, we also have Saturn in Capricorn. We're in the cycle of grounded systematic restructuring, time to bring in new stories and identities. And the same thing is going on a very different level with this Uranus, the systematic, grounded, structured practices. And it's even trickier, and I think also more potential for growth here, because we have to keep doing this systematic, grounded, structured practice no matter what's going on around us. If you look at our lives in the context of the fact that we are continuing to deepen our abilities to create on a quantum level, we're not materialists anymore. We are quantum creators, which means we are creating from this place where we are harnessing consciousness very deliberately with great awareness. And that part of that ability to harness consciousness means we have perspective, we have visions, we have intentions, we have the awareness that for us to create, we have to stay aligned with specific vibrational qualities of energies. And that for us to create in the direction in which we know is possible, the potential of what's available to us, we have to be able to hold that frequency of energy no matter what's going on, no matter whether the aliens are on the other side of the street eating ice cream cones or whatever. You know, you open up your bank account and surprise, the bank is gone or whatever. I'm not saying that's what's happening. That's not predictive, but you know, whatever the surprise, the curveball that gets thrown your way, and that's Uranus, right? Whatever that curveball may be, it's about out here, and it's about you holding your center no matter what's going on. And I think, you know, this is a conversation I've been having with my kid. My 22-year-old kid is living with me for a while, and he's just this beautiful light worker dude. I love this kid so much. He is such a light worker. And one of the things we've been talking about a lot is really knowing how, he has an open G, so he takes in everybody's identity, right? Learning how to stay anchored within your own self as a light worker, so that when things change, you don't lose that connection with yourself. And most importantly, recognizing that, especially I think those of us who are waking up or have been awake and understand the nature of what's happening, recognizing that we are powerful creators. I would lay money on the fact that anybody listening to this program today is here to harness and bring in change for the planet. You are a light worker. You wouldn't be here listening to this if you weren't. And that we know in the core of our essence, what we need to do to create the energetic tractor beam, we'll call it that, the energetic tractor beam in the quantum field that's pulling into manifested form eventually, not right away, but I think astrology very clearly says that the potential for us to literally craft a world of sustainable resources and a world of sustainable peace, that all this, oh my God, we're going to die and we've reached carrying capacity and the world's going to blow up and we're not going to have enough food and all that stuff, that's just freak out mind. That's not reality. And when we understand how the quantum field works and how to tap into it, we know that there are elegant solutions to the challenges available. There are elegant solutions that are there that are going to show us how do we process the trash? How do we start living differently? How do we create enough food and resources for people? How do we distribute it? How do we work from a place of sufficiency on a global level? And how do we share what we have so that we all have enough and we all create from a place that's not rooted in lack, but is rooted in the awareness that we have everything that we need and that we can, this is that 1-8 channel, we can be the full expression of who we are as part of our divine purpose and ultimately crack the edges of possibility open for the rest of the world so that everyone has that possibility, because that's what is the fulfillment of the potential of humanity. And we're moving towards it. I totally believe we're moving towards it. And we can't get there if the distractions of, oh my God, I woke up this morning and I read CNN and it sucked and it depressed me for the rest of the day, so I went back to bed. We can't do that anymore. We don't have that luxury anymore. We have to stay grounded to where we're headed, which means the question that I invite you guys to really play with for the year and certainly during the cycle is, what new stories are you ready to tell about who you truly are? Meaning, let go of all that crap that is keeping you small and that's keeping you distracted from the truth of your purpose here. And how will you align your life with these new stories? Because this is Taurian energy. It's grounded. It's get to work. We're not little youthful babies bumping around in Aries anymore. Now we know what we're doing. We've got the experience under our belt. Now we grounded. We get to work, and no more excuses about why you can't hold true to your vision, why you can't anchor your awareness and consciousness, why, Donald Trump or whatever who's bugging you today is keeping you from staying right here going, you know what? That's an artifact of energy. Donald Trump is an artifact of energy, and it's in my consciousness because there's an aspect of my consciousness that aligns with that. And when I can go, okay, what's in my consciousness that's aligning me with this, that I don't, why is this here? What's it showing me? Okay, I get the message now, back to the center. That's nice. I've cleared that. Let's keep going forward. World of sustainable peace. Here we come. And when you can do that, then we'll make the changes we need to make. So here's a mantra I actually gave people this mantra in the beginning of my 2018 class this year. And I'll give it to you guys because I think if you can really hold this is the energy that will carry you through this cycle. So I am worthy of living a life that is a reflection of my magnificence. That's that 1-8 channel, right? I claim my unique place in the cosmic order of life, knowing that the world is what it is because I am who I am. And it totally is. If you weren't here, if Rebecca wasn't here on the planet in the cosmos, we wouldn't be who we are. We are who we are today because Rebecca's here, because Cindy's here, because you all are here. I deliberately, consciously, and consistently practice aligning with my life purpose, my soul purpose, and calibrating my heart. The 1-8 is part of the heart, to be in harmony with my purpose. When you can just keep this in front of you, put it on your dashboard in your car so that when the crazy people who honk at you on the highway start honking at you and you start hating humanity, you can go back to, wait, I'm not hating humanity. I'm worthy of living a life that's a reflection of my magnificence. I am at peace, okay? So I do invite you guys as we go through this cycle to really ask yourself, or continue to ask yourself, because we've been in this question for a while, what stories do you want to change? What aspects of your life do you need to have restructured, including aspects about money, relationships, health and body, work and creative fulfillment, lifestyle and spirituality? The thing that's really powerful, and I think you spoke into this too, Rebecca, is that we are in this cycle. It's not just la, 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 change is happening. we are obligated, especially if you are awake, you are obligated and responsible for transformation. You know, I interviewed, oh gosh, oh, forgive me, Cindy, if I'm getting his name wrong, please correct me. Howard Martin from HeartMath.
Mm-hmm.
And Howard was sharing with us how they're doing new research that shows that your thoughts, your consciousness actually influences the ionosphere, the air under which we live, the atmosphere under which we are living. Okay, so if you can go, okay, wait a minute, it's not just I'm having stinking thinking today, it's that my stinking thinking is messing up the environment. It's making the ionosphere dirty. You know, that's a pretty heavy obligation and responsibility. And you all know this now. I have informed you as of today that when you have stinking thinking, research is showing that you're affecting the ionosphere. Now you are responsible for your thoughts even more, right? Because the opposite of obligation is guilt, by the way. So I'm using it.
I don't think we have the option to not change. Uranus is all about change. And so we might as well change towards a direction that is beneficial.
Bingo. And I think that's really, really important to understand. Change is going to happen. Done. There's nothing we can do about that. Change is going to happen. But we have the ability with quantum consciousness to be able to control aspects of how we experience the change. You won't be able to control the change necessarily. You can't make it not change, but you can control what we create with that change. So this kind of goes back to a little bit of what Rebecca was showing. I'm just showing you strictly just the human design piece. If you look in the left-hand side, these are the Taurian gates in human design. It's the 3, the 27, the 24, the 2, the 23, and the 8. The thing that just pops out at me so much about this energy is that the 3, the 24, the 2, the 23, and the 8, all of those gates are gates that are mutative. They're actually all in the knowing circuit, which is a mutative circuit. It's gnosis. It's that Gnostic awareness, right? I don't know what I know, but I know that I know, and I don't know how I know. You know, there's knowingness that comes from a connection to a source of information that's bigger than your rational thoughts. And it's energy, that knowingness that spurs us forward into transformation and change. Mutation is the theme. You know, Uranus is already mutation. Uranus and Taurus, according to human design, is mutation on crack. Except for one gate here. And that gate is the 27, which is tribal energy and is gate of responsibility. It's the gate of obligation. And, you know, sometimes I think we think those are dark words or heavy words. We think, oh, obligation. You know, we use that as a really heavy way. And I always encourage people to go back and think about, I don't know if you ever read the book, The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera. It was this ultra angsty novel I loved as a teenager. But, you know, the basic premise of this book is that it doesn't feel good to not be obligated. You know, it's like, I think that's kind of why like 20-year-olds sometimes flop around. I keep hearing in my head, I would never say this to my kids, but I'm like, you should have a baby. You just wait till you have a baby. All this stuff you think is a problem, it ain't a problem, you know? So, but the 27 is this, first of all, it is that same energy that if you have a baby, you know, it's that mama energy that when your baby wakes up in the middle of the night and they're crying, you don't lay there going, you know, my God, I'm so tired. I'm just, you know, I'm not going to get that baby this time. You know, just let the baby cry. I don't care. You know, the 27 doesn't do that. The 27 says, I'm tired. I don't care. I have this responsibility and this obligation that's rooted in love, by the way. It's not like this terrible thing. It's love. It's this stewardship for this young creature that you would die for, right? I mean, you're going to give this love and care to this baby because you see the potential of the growth of this person into adulthood, and you have these dreams for what's possible for this baby. We are the mamas, basically, the cosmic mamas, the divine mother energy here with this 27. We are the mamas of mutation. and this is not male, female. This is just, we are right now mothering in the mutation. And what we are going through is, again, part of putting pedal to the metal is really, especially in this first cycle, when in this first cycle, we go through the gate 3, which is mutation, the energy to see what else is possible and to innovate with new ideas, and nourishing, the energy to assume care, education, responsibility for the growth of others. These two energies in this first pass are asking us, I think, what is your obligation and your responsibility towards changing the world? And how committed are you to sustaining your responsibility towards this mutation? We're being invited to really look and get serious about what change are we responsible for, what changes are we obligated towards, and what is the depth of the energy and the depth of the commitment, the stewardship. I think it's stewardship, sacred stewardship to transformation and change. And as I said, we don't have, and Rebecca, you said this first, you're not going to get an option, oh, hey, I'm not going to check that I'm changing.
It's an amazing time to recalibrate. We're going to be recalibrating the whole planet. It's happening. It is happening. It is happening on a geocosmic level. It is happening politically. It is happening between countries, between people, between families. It is universal. And it's here. Like it or not, it's here.
So we're coming up on the hour. There have been some nice comments that are going there. There's lots of people that on Facebook that have been just saying, this is so great, the astrology in with the human design. And you've been getting lots of thumbs up, which show up as little hearts going across your screen as a Facebook Live, and yeses, and they loved the mantra. And of course, Sharon did have that she loved the explanation of Taurus according to the human design gates. And it would be, show each house and its human design flavoring according to the gates. So
flavoring. We are like the sprinkle that you put on popcorn. That's the human design flavoring.
But she liked the irony that the solid Taurus mutates. That's in the,
I know. When I looked at that yesterday, I was like, oh, I forgot that, we think Taurus, and I always think like family and home and, taking care of everything. And I was like, wait, Taurus is weird. Taurus is like, and then you think about, cross of explanation, the 4323 is in Taurus. Of course it's weird. It's like the entire weird month, right? And sorry, I keep kicking my computer. I apologize. I'm too excited to even sit still. Yes, it's mutation. And this is the piece. It's all that energy of nurturing, again, that I associate, maybe that's wrong, with Taurus. And it's that association of nurturing the mutation. Like you put the seeds in the soil and you tend to those seeds religiously. If you don't, they die, right?
Well, and because so many of these shifts that are happening during new moons, that is the time to plant seeds. That's what struck me when I was going through all this, is that, holy cow, everything that I come across was a new moon, and new moon is about new beginnings. It's a cycle for new beginnings, which really, really highlighted all the transits that I was looking at. And Taurus is a grounded energy. And
Rebecca, I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but Kimberly on Facebook says her Sagittarius North Node gut feeling is you were a major player, a very respected alchemist in a past life. And Sharon sharing on Facebook again, time to hold on to the trajectory of love and abundance that's inside of our wisdoms. And that the Taurus energy.
I just want to add one little piece to that. And I want to invite you all to maybe rethink the definition of the phrase abundance. And I have lately been really putting it back into not so much abundance, because I think we've gone too far. I think particularly in America, we've gone way too far. I mean, go to the airport and buy food at the airport. It's like, you can't get a bag of M&Ms that's smaller than this. It's like, who eats that much M&Ms, right? But think of it in the context of sufficiency, that you have everything you need. We have everything we need to do what we came here to do. And if we can stay in that, and Sharon, I know you'll appreciate this, the story of manna is to me, it's like, that's the foundation of where we're headed. Where, in the story of manna, the people cross the Red Sea when they flee Egypt, right, in the Old Testament, and they get to the other side and they start whining, which they do for 40 years, right? And they're like, wah, 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 what are we going to eat? And God says, don't worry about it. I got it covered. Get up every day, go outside. You're going to gather this stuff called manna that I'm going to bring you. It's going to feed you. It's going to nourish you. It's going to sustain you. Don't take more than you need. If you do, it'll rot. If your neighbor needs some because they can't get some on that day, you can collect extra for your neighbor and give it to your neighbor. And I'm going to even give you a day off. On the 6th day, you'll get to gather a whole bunch of extras so that you can sleep and rest and restore yourself on the 7th. That's really what I believe we're bringing into form. And when we can all be in this energy of, we have enough, we are enough, we have the support we need to do what we came here to do. We can share what we have because there's always going to be enough. We don't have to hoard. We don't have to fight for it. We don't have to take more than our share because those people over there might take ours. That's the building block to me of peace, when we can hold that energy of sufficiency and ultimately that trust that says, I am who I am. I will receive everything I need to be who I am, to do what I came here to do. I don't have to freak out about it, and I don't have to waste my energy not taking care of myself to do it. So
exciting. Such an exciting time.
Well, Karen, we're at the top of the hour. There were a couple comments and a question on Facebook. I'm not sure if you wanted.
Let's do one question. We'll take one question and then I'll let you guys go, because Rebecca and I will stay here till like midnight if you let us loose. So
oh my gosh, it was
pajama party.
Totally disappeared when I went. It was from Vera, and it was, she has Uranus in gate 7, and so she was just wondering. And I'm sorry, Vera, your comment disappeared on Facebook on me, but I know that both conscious and unconscious were in gate 7, and she was wondering, does that mean she's here to be a changing leader in leadership? I mean, I know that we weren't doing personal.
Yeah, but totally. And we'll see some of that, some of that leadership theme, as Rebecca was pointing out, there will be changes in leadership and changes in the way in which we allow ourselves to be led. We're moving towards, I believe, again, and this is in the mutation of the human design chart, we're moving towards a more equitable, more sustainable expression of democracy in the world. And, we're still having growing pains. Do you want to add to that, Rebecca?
I totally get it. I have my gate 7 defined as well. And I'm feeling this just like everybody else is. And there's definitely times, you have to fill your own cup up first and give to others from what spills over onto the saucer. And once you keep your own inner balance, you're going to be able to be a much better change agent. And I highly suggest, I've gotten back into giving myself massages and making sure I get some yoga in and keep that center, because we're going through turbulent times. There is no other way with Uranus. So it is, it's imperative that we take care of ourselves first. But yes, I would definitely say you are here for part of the change.
For sure. And to take a leadership role. So
absolutely.
All right. Well, I want to say thank you again, Cindy, as always, for being our wing woman. Thank you, Rebecca, for sharing your wisdom. You can find Rebecca at abundanceastrologer.com. And thank you all for joining me for human design and this beautiful marriage between human design and astrology. Exciting times. So I think I want to end with what you just said, Rebecca, because I can't stress, I think, with people how vital this is. You don't always recognize cognitively when you're going through this kind of change. It just becomes sort of the way I feel it. It's like there's a high-pitched whine happening on the planet right now, like, ee! And we may not always be tuned into it, but it's playing and it's increasing our stress threshold. And it may feel to you that you're like, why am I so stressed? Nothing's happening. You may not be always tuned into what's happening specifically in your life, but this time of change can be stressful, and stress isn't always bad. I think we define stress as being bad. Stress is good. Stress is part of what facilitates change. But pace yourself. We have a good decade really to get this work done. And don't panic. Don't worry that you're failing your mission. Take care of yourself and do whatever you need to do to stay connected to who you are, your truth, your energy, your self-care, so that you can absolutely be available to the change and the energy of change and the power of change that you have the capacity to tap into as we keep going forward. So thank you all. Have a great weekend. Next week, I'm not sure who's coming next week, but we'll have a guest next week.
It's going to be a surprise.
A surprise guest. And also join me next Tuesday right here at noon Central Time. I will be doing a very special Facebook Live broadcast. I'll be interviewing Dean Radin, and we're going to be talking about his new book, Real Magic, and the science of magic. Do you have a copy of the book in front of you? Dun, dun, dun. Go get his book now and read it over the weekend. He's hysterical. He's a great writer. He's very funny. He's definitely not a stodgy scientist dude, I don't think. And we're going to talk about all the stuff you've been doing all your life, rituals and all those things we've been doing, all the other, as part of our natural sorceress nature, is actually rooted in science. We're not weird. We're not woo-woo. We're actually advanced esoteric scientists. All right. So that's what we'll be talking about next Tuesday. So again, thanks, Rebecca. Thanks, Cindy. Bye, you all.